All right. What is up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fantastic Tuesday? So, Bitcoin obviously having a bad day on Friday thanks to Trump's tweets. A lot of stuff happened, and some cryptocurrencies absolutely took a massive dump. Pingu at one point that day was down 80%. But obviously, even today, now that everything is rolling over or looking like it's trying to roll over, the best trade was to the upside, at least on something like Pingu. We will discuss all that a little bit later on here today. But yeah, we actually shorted Pingu Friday morning. It was a fantastic short. We rode it all the way down. It was great. But yeah, a lot of people still lost money, and you can avoid that by simply using stop losses. I've been trying to teach people how to do this consistently, profitably for years. And we still have people failing to stop doing the things that make them unsuccessful in this game. So what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about Bitcoin here, and we're going to look for trades, and you can participate or you don't have to. It's that simple. So yeah, let's get started. Bitcoin right now is testing the weekly 21 exponential moving average. This would be very, very good for me if this was happening for the first time all year. Unfortunately, this is going to be like the third time this year, the second time in the last 4 days. So not great, but at the same time, it's a weekly average. Therefore, we're not going to know a whole lot until we get a weekly close. But still, very big area. Usually in a bull market, this is where people will look to add to their long positions. So very, very important level here. That is delineated by this orange line. That is your weekly 21 exponential. That price comes in around 111, 186. That's the last time I checked it. And then right here on the 4 hour, you can see that you are currently pushing down. You're still in last 4 hour candle sessions range, but it does look like it is trying to push down to fresh day lows. That is, yeah, it's probably going to happen. I want you to focus on this asset. This is called the VIX. Actually, this is the /VX. It's the VIX futures. It's massively, massively up. Excuse me, anytime that you get like a big pop like this on the VIX, you have to use smaller position sizes, right? Because the asset is moving more. All assets are moving more, whether it's to the upside or to the downside. They're just moving much more aggressive. So we are taking smaller position sizes on these assets based on this until the VIX gets back down under 16 or 15-ish. Right now, it's up at 2057. It does look like it's trying to top out. And I could see it topping out. But until we get more news on the tariffs, until we get more news on the government shutdown, assets are going to be volatile. So since you know that for a fact, you should be using smaller position sizes, as I am, all right? Okay, so we're testing the 21 weekly exponential moving average. This is where we want to see Bitcoin find support. You're going to have intraday support coming in at roughly 110, 470. This is your lowest 4 hour candle closure. So I want to see, do we close under this in this morning's session? And do we open up the next 4 hour session at noon and head lower? If you do get that downside continuation candle at noon, then you might seriously want to think about not buying here. But the way that we can do this, the way that we can manage our risk is very, very simple. We're going to use a very small position, and we will watch this candle swing low. If we trade under this, we do not want to put on any risk, simply because price could be threatening to make a fresh October low. This October low took out September's low, so right now you're printing a bearish monthly engulfing candle, right? Because you did take out last month's high and last month's low. So even though you're not trading under this yet, there's still 17 days left on this candle's range. This does look like a rejection, no doubt about it. We pointed it out when we broke out up here that this is a 3-drive topping formation, and it could be looked at as a Wyckoff distribution formation. So yeah, we knew it was there. We were more than aware of it, and we were watching it. This big down spike is more like a red swan right here. This is more like a red swan event. You had all the perfect conditions for this scenario to take place. Friday evenings are very thinly traded sessions. So liquidity, when liquidity is thin like that, you can get sharp aggressive spikes to the upside and sharp aggressive spikes to the downside. So that was one thing there that was helping the move. The second thing was you had massive amounts of upside long leverage, right? You had higher long leverage, like it was record highs. So essentially open interest was skyrocketing, and that's never a good sign, as you can get sharp volatile swings to the downside when that happens. And we got that. So then liquidity and all-time high levels of liquidation leverage potential, right? So whenever that's going on, we got to be aware of that. And then finally, ultimately, and lastly, Trump's tweet. I mean, Trump is a very volatile president. He was the first 4 years he was in office. We knew he would be another, the next 4 years was going to be crazy. Yeah, the man just doesn't know how to put down the phone, doesn't know how to stop tweeting. He literally does not need to tweet every single thing that goes through his mind, but he does. And that is on us to either position correctly or not, right? You are going to have positions get stopped out when he tweets. Sometimes you're going to be on the right side of the market when he tweets. Other times you're going to be on the wrong side of the market when he tweets. This is why it's so important that you position size correctly, and always use stop losses. If you have on just 1x leverage, just one, that literally means your liquidation point will not be zero. It will literally be halfway between where the asset is trading and zero, just with 1x. So leverage cuts both ways. If you have leverage on your position, you must have a stop loss. You must. So here we go. All right, so we're going to watch that 4-hour swing low for positioning. And also there is someone who made $200 million. Obviously, we know this market is being manipulated. We know that there are insider traders. That does not matter. We try to trade with the manipulation. We try to trade with the insiders, right? That's how generally you get the start of a trend and you get long-lasting trends. Enough of either. But hopefully there'll be an investigation. That's obviously insider trading. There's no if and or buts about it. The guy had on a short position the week prior, and then 30 minutes before the news doubled up that position size. Clearly they knew something. Obviously, I mean, or it's literally the greatest. Yeah, no, I'm not even going to say it. Obviously, there's clear manipulation going on here, insider trading and all that good stuff. So it happens. I mean, there's a Nancy Pelosi tracker that tracks her trades on Twitter. So everybody knows it happens. It obviously happens. It's a huge issue. I'm not even going to get into it. So just try to be on the right side. When you're not, have a stop. It's so simple to do, guys. We can't predict price. I've said it a million times. Nobody can. Nobody can. And because of that, you must use a stop. So let's watch this 4-hour swing low. It is the daily low, so it's a very easy level to watch. If we liquidate that level and then bounce back above it, we can look for long entries there in anticipation that maybe we are putting in the weekly low down here this week. Maybe the market thinks that the VIX is going to roll over. It is in the process of trying to roll over. Yesterday was a very choppy, very, very choppy day. I basically just went in about the day kind of at break even by the end of the day, because I did ultimately have a Farcoin short on, but that short got stopped out. I never took it off. I should have. I was going to, when I was doing the live stream, I was discussing closing it if it kept moving higher, and I never did. I weighed the pros and cons and decided to stick with the trade, and obviously I got stopped out as it pushed up into the swing highs. My entry was at 4-hour resistance right there to the downside. So literally it just pushed up, got me, and then rolled over. And it rolled over right when this day opened. So after 8 p.m., I went to bed kind of early last night because I was up really early the day before. So yeah, I was tired. And then I woke up this morning super early, and I seen that it had fallen down. So I would probably expect that to continue for now, as long as the VIX is elevated. When the VIX is elevated, we look for these things to roll over. The big movers on the day are HUSGT. I think this is done. This is a clear run above the previous day high, and you insta rejected there. That's typically the signal that we want to see when we have a bearish bias. This asset is not bearish. This asset is extremely bullish. It is up massively since yesterday. I do not know why this thing is spiking. I have traded it before. We traded it on this day here when it was or this day, I can't remember. It was on a big spike day, and you can see basically every time this thing is spiked, it has given it back. Now it hasn't given it back yet, and this is a much larger spike, but it probably will eventually give it back. But I'm not going to be looking for the short on this. I think we missed it. If you do want to look for the short, there are a couple levels you can watch. You can watch yesterday's high or today's open. Those are going to be two decent areas to look for the short. The bulls are going to be buying this because they think it's going to go higher. And if there is someone manipulating this, and when I say someone manipulating it, I typically mean the person that invented it, right? Because a person invented the code and then maybe hired a development team afterwards to help them, and then gave them all tokens once their work was completed and said, hey, you're now part of the H coin token, right? So they're the insiders. They are the ones that own the majority of the supply. They are the ones that can literally make this thing go up and up and up forever and ever, as long as they want, until they decide to sell. And when they decide to sell, that's when you get the big flash crashes, or the pump and dump, if you will. So it's impossible to short these usually, because we don't know where that dump is going to take place. And if the only signal you're going to rely on when shorting something like this is an aggressive move away from the highs, well, that's going to be a very subjective signal, because what you define as aggressive, someone like myself might not define it as aggressive. I would define this as an aggressive move away from the highs. So therefore, if the dump is going to continue, I do not want to see this thing trading anywhere near the highs again, right? That's the only way I can look at this. So if that's going to continue, then maybe I can take a short, but it would have to be around the day open or at the highest right here. If it's trading above that, then it's probably going back up here, and I don't want to be holding a short. It is moving quite a bit. So you can see that down move right there, just to where price is currently trading, is 18%. All right. So earlier I said that we did short the Pingu trade. It was on Friday when we were doing the live stream for our members. Let me pull up the chart. But we talked about the short well before we took the short. So we were going to be watching for a long on Ethereum and a short on Pingu because the news had not broke yet. And since the news had not broke yet, we wanted to mitigate any downside losses. We didn't want to just go into the day with only downside risk. So I posted this at 7:38 in the morning to let the members know that I was going to be looking for an ETH long and a Pingu short. This was at 7 o'clock. Or 7:38 a.m. I also posted on Twitter that Pingu was testing resistance. Anytime that you're moving up into a resistance level after you've broken down, that is where you want to be looking for the short. So right here at 31511, that was the level that we were watching for the short. That's the weekly open. It spent most of the time trading below it here going into the level. So we were looking there for the short, and that's literally where it rolled over. I'm not showing you guys this stuff to brag or, make my own ego feel good. I literally am just trying to help you. I put out a video on Sunday. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I guess it was useless. I think is what I heard one person say or seen one person say. It's not useless for me to show you a beautiful trade that we took and why we took it, right? I don't see that as being useless, but hey, it is what it is. But if you're trying to learn how to trade, that is invaluable info. Otherwise, how are you going to know what to look for yourself? But anyways, so that was the trade that we took, and the trade ended up looking really, really good. Obviously, the trade looked really, really good. There is no way for us to anticipate this kind of a move. Like I said, that is an 80% drop. Now, as it broke down through the session while we were live, that is when we took profits. So as you can see, the unrealized P&L here, a $500 trade, that's what I made on it. And I just left a very tiny itty bitty piece of money open on the short because I thought it was going to bounce back up into the supply zone and I was going to add to the position, right? That's what I was anticipating. I wasn't anticipating an absolute dump like that. So, but it happened and I caught it. So I turned $47 into $700. So you do not need to trade with a big amount of money to make a lot of money in this game. It's going to be my consistent point forever because it isn't until you truly understand that when you stop trying to gamble. But here it is. It's a $1,300 day. And I never had more than $250 at risk. Never had more than that at risk. And I made $1,300. Now, clearly, this is an outsized day. This is something that does not happen often. But the better trade would have been the long. So when I took that picture, it was literally right here at 6186. So instead of posting that picture, I should have been exiting my position and getting long. So I shorted here. So to the wick low means I made roughly 80%. That's an 80% drop. Had I exited and then bought this down here while it was happening, I would be up almost 300%. So this is why the upside trades are always or usually better, right? Because it has unlimited risk to the upside. It can go up 1,000%, 10,000%, 1,000,000%. It can only go down 100%. That's it. So I want you to focus on, maybe trying to catch some of those instead of always looking for the shorts on assets that are massively up on the day. So the next asset that is moving right here, right now, is this one. I don't know what this is. It's KGen USDT, KGEN. It is currently up nicely. If we go to the 4-hour chart here, you're going to see that this thing has been pushing since yesterday. It broke out to the upside, closed the 4-hour candle above the 21 exponential, came in for a 21 exponential retest now, and held support, and now we're up higher. So with that being said, the cumulative volume delta is showing that this asset is bearish. It should not be pumping this hard, right? That's not true. This is an indicator. It works off of math. It works off of math. It has to do this because it's an oscillator. It doesn't trend. So the mathematical reason why you will get divergences on this thing is the same reason why you get divergences on the RSI and the MACD and all that stuff, because mathematically they will eventually show divergence because they have to in order to go back to the zero marker, right? So you're always eventually going to get divergence on any indicator that you look at. The theory behind this is the market orders are selling harder than the limit orders are buying. So that's the reason why it's going down. That is physically untrue. You can do the math. You can go look at the 1 minute candles and add up how many volumes were traded between all 5 minutes, and then go look at the 5 minute chart, and those numbers will be different. And they shouldn't be, right? If it's volume, if it's trades that were actually filled, then the amount of trades over a 5 minute period should add up to the exact same amount that happened over a 5 minute period, right? So there shouldn't be any difference there in the numbers and the volume if they're actual trades. So I don't know how the indicator works, but there you go, right? It's just an indicator, but it does show that there's heavier sells. Now, this can help with short squeezes because people come in, look at this indicator, and they say, well, it looks really, really weak here. I think people are actually selling this instead of buying it. Well, that could be true, but if it's being manipulated by the owner of the asset, then it's going to go up no matter how many people are selling it, because they own the controlling shares or tokens. So they own the majority. If they sell all their tokens, then it goes down no matter how many people buy it, right? Because there's only so much open tokens to trade, and they control the entire supply. That they can literally make it go up, they can literally make it go down. So keep that in mind. That doesn't mean this is going to go up, but because we don't know if it's being manipulated. But what I can tell you is it is making higher lows. All right, each time the sellers get an aggressive move here, the first aggressive move was the best. So this right here is going to pull in emotional traders that have been trying to short this all morning and getting stopped out over and over and over again. When they see this big gigantic candle, they will then chase price and jump in with another short to finish the day. So now they're in the red again, waiting as price is continuously pushing to the upside. It wouldn't be making higher lows if it wasn't being bought up or manipulated. It would literally be going down if it was bearish. It could go down at any time. So if you are going to trade this aggressive moving asset, you need to make sure you have a stop loss. I bought this a little bit earlier this morning when it came in and tested the 21 exponential and rejected here. I bought it, but I was expecting it to break out. It didn't. So it's right back down to my entry almost. More than likely, I'm going to eat a stop on this. And then I have a short on Bonk that I took this morning when this candle was pushing lower. Because at the time, Bitcoin was making fresh daily lows. Fartcoin was just about to make fresh daily lows. And Bonk was lagging way behind. It was way behind. So my entry is terrible. I think it's just under this swing low right here. So my short entry is right there. but I'm still holding it. I haven't been stopped out of it yet. And this moving average structure looks like downside continuation. The 200's on top, then the 100, then the 50. So this is a bearish structure. You're below the weekly and daily 21 exponentials. Your oscillator is showing you that the bears are in control of momentum. And there really isn't any significant buying volume coming in here. So if it's going to roll over, then we'll catch the continuation trade. If it doesn't roll over and it bounces, we're probably going to eat a stop. And I'm okay with that, because then I could get in at a better position, more or less, right? Because it's still going to look bearish, even if it gets all the way back up to 1629. So if it gets up here and rejects, this is probably where we would want to take that short on bonk. Now you can trade fart or Pingu or anything you want. I'm done with Pingu. As far as I'm concerned, this thing is probably done. It lost 80% of its value. When you look at the Pingu chart, you can really see what happened. This thing has been accumulating since its massive rip in July. It has literally been accumulating for so long, right? And then boom, there's your flash crash. You gave all of this rally back, all of it, not just this part of it. We bought this down in here and we caught that move up. We did not catch this move up, but this down move here took out all of that. So everybody that's been accumulating Pingu since July is out. They're done. They have been liquidated more than likely. So yeah, this one's probably done. I'm not really interested in it. Even if it goes to zero, I think I would rather trade something like Fartcoin or Bonk. Both of those assets already gave back most of their gains. Right? These assets have been basically giving back their gains all year. Right? So there's your July pump, same as Pingu. You've pretty much given it all back. But this has already been looking like it was going to do that for a long time. So this one didn't really liquidate as many people as the Pingu trade did. I mean, Pingu decimated all the longs. It was a disaster, an absolute disaster. But we've had a sell side bias on bonk since up here. The purple line that I just deleted, that's when we first started shorting this thing. So we started shorting it way up here. But yeah, that's pretty much done. Those meme tokens are pretty much done. But yeah, that's what we're waiting on. That's what we're looking at. So I'm going to send an alert here on Bitcoin just to kind of remind me that we are watching the day low down here and we do want to get involved. As far as Ethereum goes, it isn't quite as low as Bitcoin is, as it did test its 21 exponential last week, but it hasn't done it yet this week. Whereas Bitcoin has already done it this week. Bitcoin did it on Friday or yesterday, this morning. You did it on Saturday. You're doing it again right now. So Ethereum is a little bit stronger than Bitcoin is. So maybe if you have a bearish bias because the VIX is pushing back to the upside, maybe Ethereum would be one to watch because it hasn't given back as much yet. Now, it does look equally as bad on the daily and 4-hour chart, candlestick charts, though. I wouldn't be looking for a short down here regardless. We always try to get in at the best places, the most opportunistic areas, the huge levels, right? The objective price points. That's where we want to look for our shorts. We would be taking profits on this move down here, not taking fresh shorts. Though kind of not a lot to do here this morning. We're just going to watch, like I said, we're going to watch the two assets that I'm currently trading. And then if you want to tell me about something that's going on, I will pull it up and analyze it for you to the best of my ability. And we'll go from there. We'll watch to see if anything else pops up here. Like I said, H is probably done. We don't know that it's done, but it's probably done. The reason is because this thing printed a 95, like a 95 on the RSI, on the 4-hour RSI, right? So, like, you would have wanted to, oh, there goes Bitcoin. So let's pull Bitcoin up real quick. Damn, it's down 3.8%. So remember, we don't want to buy it while it's pushing beyond the low. And the VIX, what's the VIX doing? The VIX is currently running day highs. We got to be very, very cautious about buying because of that, right? We do expect the vol sellers will show up and the VIX will go back down, but that might not be right now. So Cajun is going down, getting ready to stop me out. So I probably won't get involved with that anymore. But here is the bonk short, so you can see that I'm not, making any claims that are untrue. So I'm in right at that 4-hour swing low. Like I said, I just simply watched that level, waited for a pullback to the level, and then got in short. And not my favorite style of entry. I would have rather entered up here at resistance, but it is what it is, right? We take what we can get. The way that I was looking at this entry is the VIX was mostly elevated. If it's going to continue to rise, then I definitely want to be holding at least one of these things short while I look for the long entry on the Bitcoin. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to hold one short while we watch this 4-hour swing low here for long opportunities. It's going to be difficult to do this. You're going to have to enter with a small position size because volatility is so elevated. That means the asset is moving a lot more. It is moving a lot more. So we might have missed it. We'll see. But yeah. Oh, no, I don't want to move that. We don't want to keep buying this level because yesterday we were watching the October Open and we grinded this level for a long time. You can eat a lot of stops when that happens. So at that point, it's up to you as the trader to identify, this is the level that I want to get long in. However, how many stops am I going to eat if it's trading at the level? That's on you, right? That's what you do as a trader. You have the ability to manage how much money you lose. You do not have the ability to manage how much money you make. Well, you kind of do, but you can't. You don't have the ability to decide or see where price is going to go. Well, all we can do is look for our entries at our levels. So if we go back and look at it yesterday, you can see how they gave us a long entry here. We got long, right? And then it trades away, looks really good. Then it comes right back and stops us out here. Right? Then it grinds this area again. We look for a long again. And then it goes up and it looks real good as it goes up, makes a fresh day high. And then Asia comes back and boom, we eat another stop. So it's up to you to decide how many times you're going to eat a stop. I typically stop at 2 for 1 day trade. I'm not going to try to get long on an asset that's grinding at a level 37 times simply because even if I'm right and it does bounce from that level, I'm probably not going to make my money back if I eat 37 stop losses. That's you trying to inflict your will upon the market. You're trying to tell the market, hey, you're going to go up from here, and my emotions will not allow me to let you go without me. That's the wrong way to trade. So we can't predict that price will bounce from here. We know it might, but we don't know that it will. We hope it might. Right? Hope is a strategy. You've heard people say hope is not a strategy. Yes, it is. Every trade you take, you hope it works, right? Okay, that is a strategy. It's not a great strategy, but it is a strategy. It absolutely is, because we can't predict the future. Therefore, hope is all we got. But we can manage our risk. So if we get filled on that limit that I threw out there, my stop will be low of day. It's that simple. If it gets stopped and then bounces again, I'm going to give it some time. I don't want to eat more than 2 stops trying to buy this level. And since it's moving so much, it doesn't look like it is, right? It does not look like it's moving a lot, but Bitcoin has been very not volatile for a long time. It has only been moving about this every day, all day, from open to close. You've literally been moving about that much. You're now moving that much in a 5-minute time frame. So you are moving 4 times as much as you usually do because the VIX is elevated. So these little deep pushes don't seem that deep, but they are massively deep. You will see when you put a stop loss on, right? You'll put on a stop loss and you'll be like, I only want to lose 5% of this money if I'm wrong. And then the stop loss is literally going to be right at your entry. That's how you can tell how much the asset is moving. Because usually when I do that on Bitcoin, my stop loss is wide, right? I take an entry with such and such amount of money. Usually I'm looking for Bitcoin entries with anywhere over like between $1,000 and $2,000 when I'm trading Bitcoin. I rarely trade Bitcoin anymore because it's the fees associated with Bitcoin trading are so expensive. It costs like $60 per trade on Bitcoin on some exchanges. That's just too much. Whereas you can get in and out on alts for nothing hardly. And they move more anyways, right? We're looking for movement. Now, I did not get filled on that push lower here because my entry was there. But that's okay. I'm not really concerned about getting the fill to the upside because the VIX is still pushing on day highs. This means you're making fresh day high after fresh day high. In fact, with this happening, the best trade would be to wait for a gigantic rip on Bitcoin and try to sell the high of that. Because that is the trend. That is the order flow on the day. You can see just how bearish Bitcoin is. As when it rolled over up here during Asia, it went back up for a retest of the averages and rolled over. And once you broke back under the 200 here, you never went back and retested even the 100 on a 5-minute chart. Like, what? You still have not retested this all day. So the sell on Bitcoin, as long as the VIX is still up and pushing on day highs, would be up here. Right? Because of the order flow, because of how weak it is. If you expect that trend to continue through the rest of the day. So you wouldn't be trying to buy this. You would be trying to wait for the sell. We already have a short on. We don't want to put all of our eggs in the short side basket. We want to mitigate our risk out as much as possible. And then whichever trade we don't get stopped out of, that one goes on to make us whatever our daily goal gains are. For me on this small account, roughly $300 a day. I don't know what that is for you, But that is what I shoot for. Since I've started doing the live streams every day, obviously I had to decrease the amount of position sizing that I was using, because before I was doing live streams every single day, I was only taking 2 to 4 trades per week. Like, I was simply just waiting for the best opportunities. But now that I'm doing live streams every day, I'm actually looking for opportunities every single day. And because I'm doing that, I am trading more. So I have to cut my risk down. That's why I'm only risking $90 a day. All right, that's my risk limit for the day. If I break that, I'm done for the day. So big bounce here. I would love to see it test the 100 or at least this previous week low, as that's an objective price point. I do not want to sell a moving average. I know that it's here, but I don't want to take a position off of it. I would rather use an objective price point, and that objective price point is last week's low. It's not last week's low, it's the previous week. It's the bullish week's low. So this would, in a sense, kind of be like a supply zone up here. It isn't, right? Because you needed this candle right here to break down and close under for that to be the supply zone, but it is what it is. The next level for shorts is all the way up here at the October open, if you have a sell side bias. I don't, because I know the VIX is an oscillator. I know eventually they're going to get it. Well, I haven't been stopped out of KGen yet, and it's actually starting to pump here. Oh, we'll see what this thing wants to do. Nice big volume delta here. I like that. So let's see if we can run these highs and push. So let me take this limit long off of Bitcoin, because I'm about to change to KGen, because this trade is actually working. I need to get ready to mitigate this trade. So I need to go ahead and set a take profit up high enough to where I would achieve my $300 daily goal. We'll go ahead and set this to where it was. And then we'll set this to 300% at 75% of the position. That will give us our goal. So that's way up there. So I'll pull it down just a little bit. Oh, in a sense, if we liquidate these swing highs, we should get up there, right? And then I can scale out on the way up. So this is what I did yesterday on Bitcoin Live. We were up nicely. We had our $300. But I moved my take profit up a little too high, and the trade did not get filled on take profit. So that was kind of my mistake on Bitcoin. I could have ended the day profitable. Well, we were profitable. We took one scalp, made $165. Took a couple more whacks at that. That got brought down to about $100, and then yeah, that was it. So we were barely profitable on the day. But we would have hit our daily goal. So sometimes the daily goal is just out of reach. All right, so that's situated, that's adjusted. We'll see if this can continue to push up and give us our money. And now we will watch Bitcoin here. So I'm not interested in selling Bitcoin, but with the VIX trending the way that it is, I think that would probably be the best trade. To catch the trend, right? But if those volatility sellers come back, so we did liquidate the low of day here. It looks like the VIX or the VX futures, the VIX futures topped out at 2165. Pants check. No pants, baby. You know how we roll. Why put on pants? I'm in my own house, my own office. I have no employees. I'm golden. No pants. Stop losses went working on most exchanges because Binance pulled their liquidity. You can say because of a million reasons. I would have, so many people got liquidated. I feel sorry for everybody that lost money on Friday. It sucks when that happens, but these black swan events in the crypto world happens often. You just gotta manage risks. I mean, sometimes even stop losses can get slipped. So even sometimes you can do everything that you can physically do to manage that risk and still get smoked. So hopefully, I feel bad for anybody that lost money. I do. It sucks. But we can help you. That's a for sure thing. Any idea for long on ETH? Yeah, probably not until we start to see the VIX give back some of those gains. The VIX is extremely elevated here. Extremely elevated. It doesn't seem extreme because we've seen the VIX do this many times this year. So top left on your monitor, that's the VIX. So you can see where it's trading right now today. This is lagged data. It's behind 15 minutes. That's why I have this, because this is not lag. This is real-time live data. So yeah, but this is a daily chart. So you can see all year the VIX has spiked up into this area many, many times this year. So this is about where I would expect the vol sellers to start showing up, right? We look to buy the dips on the S&P on 3, 5, and 10% corrections. So your S&P, 3%, 5%, and 10% corrections. In a bull market, you do typically want to look to be a buyer. So what's going on with that phone? They haven't left a message? Okay. It's obviously the wrong number. Alright. If it keeps doing it, just shut it off. Okay, so if we look at the S&P cash market right here, you can see that we did get a 3% pullback here. So people will buy this because nothing on the macro has changed. If we get off this chart and go look at what's up with that? If we go look at the chart we usually look at, I see what's going on here. Oh, okay. Here we go. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so every week I get the options expected move, right? And you can see last week you blasted through the low edge of that options expected move. So these are typically in bull markets good areas to look to be a buyer, right? You just don't want to buy when the VIX is super elevated. You got to give the VIX time to start pulling back off the highs. And then when that happens, you could be a buyer. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to, you'll have to buy the lows at some point because the VIX, this and the VIX trades inversely to one another. So you would have to be a buyer on the S&Ps with the VIX on the highs. But this week, the expected move is much larger now that we have a massively elevated VIX. Last week, we didn't have a massively elevated VIX. Until Friday, you got the news, and that's when the VIX spiked. But, you filled the gap here. So this would be a decent spot to look to be a buyer, as it is 3%. So if you eat a loss, right? If you get in at a 3% correction and then you get stopped out, you would wait until you get a 5% correction, because the bull market is still here, right? Nothing on the macro has changed yet. It could, but we assume the best, right? We have to be optimistic, not pessimistic. So if you get stopped out of your 3% buy, then you wait for a 5% correction and then you buy that. And then, of course, if you eat a stop on that, then you just wait for the 10% correction, which would give you gap fill and all kinds of stuff, right? That would probably be next week or the week after, because things take a lot of time in this market. Like yesterday, you didn't do anything. You just basically chopped around all day. It wasn't until the market closed and then the futures started trading through Asia, that's when the sell-off happened. So I don't remember what I had pulled up here. I think it was that H, but that thing is done. So we'll just leave this here. All right, so we're failing here. Now this does look like it could fail either direction, right? You're putting in some kind of a little like trending formation here. So these things can break to the downside or to the upside. And even if it does break to the upside, it could just barely get above and then roll over. But unfortunately, my take profit is like way up here. Yeah, 27870. So like right in here is my take profit. We'll see if it spikes, as Bitcoin is looking for supply here, or it's looking to go up. So this is why we don't sell the moving average. It's not an objective price. But now we might not get an opportunity at an objective price. I guess we could watch that, but I don't love it. I don't love being a buyer when the VIX is elevated, but it is pulling back. Here is the VIX once again. It is pulling back pretty aggressively off the highs. This is what we want to see. We want to see that VIX make a lower high and then start rotating back to the downside. We might not see that happen until we get news to the effect of like Trump lowers the tariff rate on China. I think most people are concerned that it could be, this could escalate to bigger tensions. No one wants to go to war with China. Well, at least no normal people want to go to war with China. If we go look at our bonk short real quick, it is not performing well. Here, let's put Pingu back here. So Pingu made a fresh day low and rejected as well. So here's the bonk trade. It did not quite make a fresh day low before it's rejecting. So we'll see what it does here. I might just close it if it starts pushing above that swing high. Because if it's going to remain weak, I don't want to see it pushing far above that, right? So if it does start pushing far above that, I'll just go ahead and close the trade out, make a little bit of money, and then look for the new entry up here around the weekly VWAP or up here at the objective price point. These aggressive spikes can happen while the VIX pulls back. Rip your face off rallies can happen during bearish times. It's also bringing in emotional longs. I mean, All your emotions get skyrocketed in times of heightened volatility because you're losing more than you generally would be losing. And you think you can make more. Yeah, trading is a very emotional game. Rare earth plays have been ripping, looking for buys with profits. I took on ARRNF. Yeah, they have been. We've been watching the rare earth plays for a long time. They have been working quite well. China controls the majority of them, so obviously when you have that much control over an asset, you can affect supply and demand hugely, which affects pricing. Same goes for cocoa. Cocoa was literally mooning because one country essentially controls the entirety of the cocoa plant supply. They're cranking back supply to cause skyrocketing prices. Yep. Yen, strongest currency on the day right now. That's another thing. Thanks for bringing that up, Wes. If the yen is the strongest currency on the day right now, then that literally means this could be a real risk-off move. So, yeah, looking for the sell is probably the way to go. But we have to assume eventually this is going to end. Like, Trump definitely wants the markets to go up as it helps his numbers. His numbers decline when the markets decline. But yeah, it's hard to say who made the money. More than likely it was I'm not even going to say that, never mind. It's just, yeah, it's hard to say. People, they get insider info and then they run with it, right? It is highly illegal in the US. Regardless if you're trading on an offshore exchange or not. You get caught doing it, you are going to prison. It seems like the only people who don't is the elected officials. Rules for thee, not for me. I'm interested to see what happens after it tests that 100 EMA on the 5-minute time frame. I'm interested to see if heavy sell side comes in there. It's a pretty good spike. And it helps that you ran the low of day after the 9:30 open. This is generally what we see. We see a big aggressive move to the upside, and then if it's going to be a downtrending day, then the sellers do end up showing back up again. Yesterday it was so choppy, you couldn't get a read whether it was an up day or a down day because it was making fresh day lows, fresh day highs, fresh day lows. It's trading in a megaphone formation. What's up, Oxum? How you doing, my friend? What's up, Agile Leader? King Money. Me personally, I look for the long on ETH at around the previous month low. If we ever get there, it's not a bad place to look. Not a bad place to look. It's also going to be your yearly open. So not a bad place to look. If it gets down there, I agree. I understand it's very dirty up there. I guess we don't really need these levels unless we get back up there. We'll need them. Super busy in through here. I get it. But they're all important levels. They're all so important as they help us get an intra-week bias, intra-month bias. All the biases needed to successfully navigate these markets. We got to know, what is the market doing? Is it going up for the month of October? Is it going down? But right now, they're all looking for fresh October lows. ETH isn't. It made October lows the same day as Bitcoin did, but you're trading under the open, so it isn't great. You typically want bullish assets, you want to see them moving to the upside away from your objective monthly open. A lot of people were caught off sides because everybody kept saying October, October, October. I seen probably 37 posts on X. I seen October thumbnails on YouTube. Everybody thought October was going to be a good month. And historically, it is a good month for risk markets. So when the market gets extremely one-sided, you get these type of events. It happens all the time. Like this right here, Cajun. One could argue and make the claim that this market is extremely one-sided right now. It's heavily shorted. So you're probably going to see it rip your face off rally, and then it rolls over. But the trend right now on this is up. Like, you are moving higher. You don't have enough daily candles. This is Binance. So there isn't enough data on this to print. Yeah, you don't even have enough 8-hour candles to give you a 21 exponential. So with the data you have here, I mean, the sellers had it through here, and then they lost it. So if this was just a liquidation, then we would have expected to see it lose and get back under the 21. It didn't. It actually held support there. And now you're expanding. So you are into resistance. I agree. So it is a difficult long. But it's not a great short either. It might be a good short if you liquidate these swing highs and then reject. Maybe then it's a good short. Because the volume structure on the delta does not support this, what looks to be a heavy bid. But if these cells are being accumulated, then that is why price is moving higher. Got someone soaking up the ask. People are hitting that, right? They're just slamming that ask, slamming it, wanting it to go lower, and someone's just setting on the ask, absorbing it all. As price slowly makes its way higher. Eventually, it probably will. Bleh. But I've been on the wrong side of these. I used to short everything that was moving up. I would just short it because it was up, and I missed the up move. So I had to trade it, and the only trade to take was a sell. On the wrong side of these things too much. The things can go higher forever. Especially when there's a good, strong short squeeze at play. And I would argue that you are not even seeing a short squeeze at play here yet. It is up. And it's up nicely. But it can go much higher. Yeah, you're up 49% from support. So it is up big, but it can go up much bigger. It is taking a long time to grind up. That's one thing I do not like. Just taking its sweet time grinding up. It just makes me feel like a dump is coming, right? Like a dump is just coming. Bonk starting to find a bit of resistance here. That's what we want to see, as we are holding a short on this. Bitcoin's still frantically trying to hold support at the weekly 21 exponential. I wish there was an objective level here to buy, like a higher time frame objective price point to buy. In that scenario, I would be buying this. I just can't buy the moving average. It's not in my rule set. Can you check BMNR, Adam? Yes, I can. I will here in a little bit, as we're waiting to see what Bitcoin does here. We're also, well, let me go ahead. I can go ahead and pull it up. BMNR is an Ethereum treasury play. I know it says Bitmine in the name, but it is an Ethereum treasury play. It is pulling back. Okay, it is pulling back. It doesn't look terrible. It's below the 21, but that's okay. You're still very much sideways here. I'm not going to look at this gigantic wick. I mean, it is there. It is an actual move, but you'll be trading inside of this for months and months to come, more than likely. So let's just look at the month of August, as it was a rally that gave most of it back. You closed under the midpoint, which would have suggested weakness. However, the month of September pushed. It was still an inside month, but nonetheless, it still pushed and made a higher close. And this month, you made a higher high, taking out September's high. So you are currently testing the month open for October. So if you look back at Ethereum, you can see that you have lost the October open. So on Ethereum, you're actually bearish on the month of October. So either BMNR hasn't been hit hard yet, and it's coming, or people are buying Ethereum right now, and they don't think this is going to go much lower. Now, obviously, I can't tell you what is what. I would say as long as you're trading under the October open, you probably want to wait until you get down to around August's open, or September. Not August, September's open. So if you lose this area, I don't know why this thing is green. The dotted line should be up here. I don't understand what's going on with this very ugly. So yeah, if you lose this, it's currently working on it right now. If you lose this, then you're probably going to see a deeper correction on this. But it is in an area to still BTFD. I mean, you haven't broken trend yet. Right, there's your trend line. So, I mean, I don't buy trend lines. But if you want to, I don't see no reason why you couldn't. You just definitely need to mitigate that risk. Okay, there's the spike on Bitcoin, and you took out the 100 exponential. The VIX is currently pushing lower. So the VIX is up off the highs and pushing a little bit lower here. So this is helping Bitcoin move up. Let's see what Bitcoin can do up at the daily VWAP. If it can pull in above this and hold support, that would be nice. So this is going to be the London session swing highs here. actually happened right here. There's your London Open. So to get all the way above the London Open, you would need to come up here. So maybe it rejects there. If it's going to go down, we don't know that it is. We actually want it to go up because the VIX usually oscillates lower. I'll tell you one thing though, this push up on Bitcoin is helping our Cajun USDT long. It is pushing up nicely. Hopefully we get that liquidation and an aggressive move higher into our limit fill up there. We can make our daily $300 goal. Stock 2377 stock in TWSE. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. Give me 1 second. I want to see what Bitcoin does here. There is the move above bonk. So here's your London Open on bonk. That's our objective level to watch. And then here is your London high, or the high that was made right before the London. Oh, and now we're rejecting. The white line is the VWAP. It's your intraday anchored VWAP, volume weighted average price. If it can't get above that, it's going to suggest that it's going to be weak. Well, if it's if you're looking for a short on ZEC, it needs to at least have a sell side structure, right? It needs to be weak. It hasn't been. It isn't here either. Like, this is super strong. Everything is weak right now, but what if Bitcoin bounces off the weekly 21 again? It did last week, right? It did before that as well. It will be bullish again. So shorting this to me is just like it. That's the reason it's going higher. It's squeezing shorts. Is it done squeezing shorts? It may be, but that's not a good enough reason for me to look for shorts on it. There has to be a reason, like, yeah, you're printing a bullish engulfing here right now. If you were going to short it, here would be where I would need to see it roll over. If you're pushing above 239.12, then you're probably coming back to here. It could reject at the 4-hour 21 or at this swing low, which is old support. But for me to be short, I would want to see it fail here. This is no longer continuing lower. It's actually doing the opposite. You just put in a higher high. And that's after making another higher high. This is a lower low, but this is a higher low. Higher lows, not bearish. It's been in a near-term downtrend, but the downtrend is not strong. Not strong at all. Remember, we want to short weak assets that are weak. This thing is extended. That's one, I guess that's a good short argument right there, right? Super extended. Like, it's been massively overbought for a long time. but that's not a good enough reason. Wow, up here, that's your day open. So above that, you're not even bearish on the day anymore. So if I love this for a short, which I do not, if I was going to take this short, which I am not, I would short it right here. And I would just put my stop above that swing high and see what happens. It shouldn't need to go higher than that. If the VIX rolls over, this thing could take off back to the upside. You could get another one of these big boys right here. Looks like the short squeeze is over, but we'll see. Only time will tell. I don't know, like this actually has a monetary value associated with it. It's $239 per token. So clearly this isn't just a random garbage crap coin, right? It's not a shit coin, because shit coins are worth pennies or hundreds of thousands of pennies, not worth even $1. This thing is worth almost $300. So clearly people think that it has a value. And the chart looks exceedingly bullish. Like just massive short squeeze here. Absolutely massive. Yeah, that's a dangerous one there. Fartcoin putting in a bullish engulfing 4-hour candle here. Still plenty of time. Cumulative volume delta does not suggest that you should be doing this. Oh, look at that. Wow. This is squeezing near-term shorts. My goodness, look at that volume. So it's rejecting the 5-minute 200, but huge volume. Does Bitcoin look like that? Kind of. The POC has migrated lower. VIX is coming off kind of hard now. You get both aggressive moves in both directions. See, the thing that the VX shows us is there's plenty of upside to go. Whereas if we look at just the VIX with the lag data, we've already liquidated yesterday and Friday's high and then rejected. Now, this is a good look right here. You're trading under daily res. That daily res. That's the highest daily close since you broke back under the yearly open on the VIX. And it gives you a liquidation above August's high. So it might be done now. If we gap down hard tomorrow, back down into this area, then I would be very, very happy with that. Risk markets going up to fill the gap. A huge gap here that was made from futures. You closed here on Friday, gapped up to here yesterday. You were sideways all day, broke down. So you're filling this upside gap as well as this downside gap at the same time with this move here. Intraday VWAP on S&P cash market, that's from yesterday. It's up there. Here's intraday VWAP on this. There's your weekly VWAP. Yeah, it looks really good. Yeah, we might have missed our long entry on Bitcoin. We didn't have the position ready to go. It happens. We'll see. I mean, I still don't love Bitcoin to the upside here, but I've seen this happen a million times where you get in a big aggressive spike off the lows. And then later on that day, you're trading down here. But I honestly think that move that we saw on the explosive move higher with the VIX was overdone. It was a much bigger move than it probably should have been. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, VIX is struggling. It's at 2075, so it's still extremely elevated here. Cash market is also, I forgot to tell you, the cash market, S&P 500, also testing the October VWAP right here. That's this blue line. Oh. Oh, wait. No, it isn't. It's the September VWAP. We should move that. That's useless. Sorry. It isn't anything to worry about. There's your October volume weighted average price, way up there. It's just gap fillage in the village. But 3% corrections, just remember that for the next time, right? If you ever get that again, if you miss the long, 3, 5, and 10% corrections in a bull market, you want to be a buyer. Just because we've seen a massive VIX spike does not indicate that we are in a bear market. Everything is still bullish. This is just a one-off massive event. It's whether or not we get sell side continuation from here, that is what would be important. So like, we're 2 days in to this week's range, right? We're still trading inside last week's range, which is obvious, but we're only 2 days into this. The important question is going to be, do we see continuation lower or not? That's what everybody's going to be looking to see. Because if you get that, then people are going to say, okay, this might have more to go. If you completely reject these lows and start pushing higher, everybody's going to look at this chart and be like, yeah, this thing is not done. Especially if you get back above October's open. It's going to be bullish on the month. And that's just right here. So bullish engulfing 4-hour swing high. See how Bitcoin's rejecting that price? That's what I would want to see on Zcash. Right? I'd want to see that exact same thing. I don't want to see it keep pushing up. I want it to reject there. Like Bonk did, right? This looks good. So This is what I would want to see to hold a short on Zcash. And it is, to be fair, it is rejecting that. So your short might work out here, buddy. I can't tell you if it will or not, but it might be a good trade. Only one way to find out, and that's to put it on. I don't know how much this moves, so I don't know how big my position size would need to be. Oh, it does move a lot, so just to make fresh day lows would be an 8%, almost 9%, over 9% move. So that's a big mover. It definitely could make fresh day lows. Volumes are drying up a little bit on the VIX. So the volume that we saw on the last hourly candle and the volume we're seeing on this hourly candle, we're still 30 minutes for this hourly candle, are less than some of the giant volume spikes we saw yesterday. Right? So like yesterday, we seen huge volume spikes on these hourly candles, whereas today we're getting big volumes, but not as big as yesterday at this same time. 9 and 10, there's 9 and 10. A little bit less volume today on the VIX. A little bit strange there. Don't know how it's helpful. I'm just letting you know. We still have both our positions open. We're still long KGN and we're still short bonk. We just did not catch that upside fill on Bitcoin. That's where we wanted the fill. We just didn't get the fill here with this push. We waited for the retest and the rejection, right? That was the test and rejection. Then we put the limit out in anticipation that this candle would push down, fill us, and then start to move away from it. So I would not want to get a fill down here on a long trade if Bitcoin comes back here quickly. Because if that happens, you're probably going to see the VIX moving back to the upside. And that could be very dangerous because Bitcoin did not give a blow-off style move like Pingu and Fartcoin and Bonk and the rest of them did. That blow-off on Pingu was insane. It just kept pushing and kept pushing. It was crazy. Absolutely bonkers. I don't know. Did Fartcoin give an 80% loss that day as well? Yes. So Fartcoin actually gave you an 86% loss. We were trading Fartcoin back when it was trading for $1. It hit 9 cents on Friday. Oh, so brutal. I hate, sorry for laughing at it, but damn. That's bad. And Fartcoin had already gave back most of its June and July gains. Well, it took off in May. So before June and July. It was July that it gave all of it back. And then, oh, so brutal. Yeah, that delta is still heavily skewed to the sell side today. According to the indicator, you actually have more selling today than you did yesterday. Or more sell side volume. Let me say it that way. Because it doesn't mean that it's going to go down, right? Because you have more sell side volume. If it's getting soaked up, it will go up. It will explode to the upside. But you have more aggressive selling today than you did yesterday. That's yesterday's low. Nice rejection off the 200. That's what you would want to see if you were expecting downside continuation. That's exactly what you would want to see right there. Kind of got that on Bitcoin. Bitcoin did overshoot a little bit. Oh, no, it didn't even get up to the 200. My bad. Okay, so this is your previous week low. So if you can't even spend much time staying above that, it's not last week. It's the week previous to last week. Last week's low was much lower. 107. Yeah, I mean, you can have a short on from that point, I guess, if you think it's going down. I have an optimistic view. I don't think it is, but it may. Then look out for 135. Yeah, if it breaks, okay, let's see here. Considering a short, okay, read that. Bitcoin looks very bearish to me. 3 drive top, massive evening star on the 5-day. Looking for a pullback up to Sunday's midpoint before continuation. I don't know where Sunday's midpoint is. They didn't check it. Okay, so that would be like just a basic daily supply or demand zone. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that analysis. Not at all. Just make sure your risk is mitigated. Don't go in balls deep with it, because just how it got massively destroyed to the downside, it could get massively destroyed to the upside as well. When you have an elevated VIX, you can see gigantic bullish candles. Gigantic. Like these babies right here. Remember that day? Remember this day? The shorts got wrecked on both those days. Shorts got wrecked on this day too. Because this candle is much bigger than what you had the 3 bearish days prior to that. So you can get gigantic bullish candles This candle could close up here today. It's not, I don't anticipate that happening. It would be an insane move if it did. But I'm just saying, like, you can see crazy stuff like that the other way. Everybody is bearish right now. Everybody is looking at everything that you've looked at and described. We described this earlier on in the stream. We've been looking at the three drive topping formation since we put in the high. Right? I even tweeted about it that day. So we've known about the 3 drive topping formation since right there, October 5th. Time for the Wyckoff distribution posts to start making their rounds. Bitcoin 3 drive day is still very early. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. So we've been looking at it. We've known it existed. But so does everybody else. So now, because of that big candle right now, all of your emotional bears are going to be afraid they're going to miss the bear market. So they're going to be trying to sell this thing hard. Typically, when you're trading into an area like this, you want to be a buyer, not a seller. It's after you start closing weeklies under, then that's when you got at least a little bit more confluence to look for the shorts. So like the short trade would have clearly been so easy to take right here, because you broke down, you had 2 weeks of pullback. The short trade would have been chef's kiss right there. So right now you don't have that yet. The bulls are still controlling this. It's not until we get down into here and then continuation, then we pull back. That's when I'd be looking to attack with the short. Be very patient, my friends. But it doesn't always work. Here's a time when that trade didn't work. Right? There's your weekly close under. There's your downside continuation move. Here's your retest. That's your short entry. Boom. Smoked. It doesn't always work. But if you are getting ready to put in a bear market, it is a good place to watch. Boom. But in my opinion, it's just my opinion, the macro doesn't support a move like that. But that is just my opinion. This market could just sell off hard. But I don't think you got enough macro fundamental news to propel a push that deep. It could happen, and if it does, we will be shorting Bitcoin. Absolutely. I think we're just a little early here. But only time will tell. Time will tell. We've got everything that we need to be marked, so we know what we're looking for. Your midpoint Sunday test looks like you may get it. Look at Doge. That's a higher low. You haven't quite made an hourly lower low on VX futures yet, but it's working on it. And then you would have, at least on the hourly time frame, you would have lower high, lower low. So now that would flip the dynamic a little bit. Because all of these highs right in these lows right here, you made a lower low here and then you took off. Made a lower low there, then you took off. So even making a lower low here doesn't guarantee that the VIX will go lower for the rest of the day. But this is a wedging formation, right? There's your lower low. Oh, so close. 2050. 2050. It's dead on. Okay, we're getting our move on our long. So we're almost at our $300 target. So we can move this down. Let's make this big so we can get it right there. Oh, please don't tell me I'm too late. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's get out. Fill me, fill me, fill me, fill me. Might have blew it. But this would be when you would be wanting to take a short on this. Now that you've liquidated that swing high. Come on up here and get me out of this thing, man. Don't make me chase your ass all the way down. Thank you. Okay, so we didn't make our $300 target, but huge rejection. We're still in it, so if it wraps, right? If it just takes off, we're gonna be good. We gotta change this stop loss now, because if it comes down and fills us, it's actually gonna put us in for a short at this price. So didn't quite get our target, but that's a big move. That's what happens when the thing is moving. I should have been a little bit more patient, but it is what it is. Yesterday stung me. And I didn't want to get stung. But we're still in this bonk too. You know what I'm saying? So if we close bonk right now, we've got our $300. But there's really no point to close bonk yet. It's not putting in higher highs and higher closes up above that level. So until that happens, I'm going to hold the short. But if this thing wants to just literally explode, as you will be at fresh all-time highs at 29,762, then we'll take more money as it goes up. And we still have unrealized gains here. Let's just go ahead and set the stop loss to 0. Now we can't lose money on the trade. We're good. Close to $200. We're $100 shy of our goal. Not gonna be picky. That's what I was doing yesterday on Bitcoin, and I didn't hit my $300 goal yesterday. All right, so we're good on that. We're golden. Now we can set it and forget it. And now we can focus on our bonk short here, which still looks good. Still looks good for downside continuation. We're still well under the 50 here, which I love. I like that look. We've got an hour and 10 minutes left on this 4-hour candle. And the funding rate is actually set to buyers. When negative, the shorts pay the longs. So we're against the funding here in this position. I'm curious, is Bitcoin's funding also set to long? It is. So they're trying to manufacture longs. They're trying to manufacture long positions. That's not great news for shorts. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, VIX did make a new low. Yes, it did. It actually took out 3 hours worth of lows. So that's That's kind of good. But here is where we need to see what's what with the VIX. So since we made that low, the question is do we go back up now? Right? It's not a day. Is it a day low? No. It's not a day low. So it looks like this thing opens at 6 a.m., the same as all futures. So your daily low is way down here. But you have liquidated many hours worth of lows. So if it bounces here and starts to head back up, that's going to be worrying for the longs. Yeah. This looks a little rough. Once again, that intraday VWAP, that's the bulls have got to get it above that, and they got to maintain bullish pressure above. So a breakout, retest, and hold to be back in control of this asset, right? As long as you're below it, the bears have it. The bears have it. This is the previous 4-hour swing high, so there's no need for it to go any higher, right? There's no need. If it does, then I wouldn't be looking to short. But if it can stay under this point, I could hold shorts. I do have a short on. I have a short on bonk. If Bitcoin rolls over, bonk will too, most likely. We didn't really see that with Fartcoin yesterday. Fartcoin pushed up, but Fartcoin had an agenda yesterday. Yesterday, Fartcoin was going to run the stops. It just pushed up all day with bearish volume, delta. So when Asia opened up, they seen that, and they were like, let's short it. And they did. Bam. Now New York is thinking, okay, is it going lower or is it going higher today? See this? All this volume. If Fartcoin breaks down from here and rolls over, all of these longs are going to get stopped. And that could propel Fartcoin much lower today. This is a big deciding moment here. Deciding moment. You got a bullish 4-hour engulfing. And now this is going to pull in emotional longs. Cajun looks like it's failing. So I'm glad I took profits. As you are rolling or failing to get back up into those highs. You're back under the day high. That's your day high. Now your day high is there, but that was your previous day high, and you're well under it now. If you look at this on the short time frame chart, it's going to look like the bears have got it. Right? That's that same high. Oop. Right there. As long as you're trading under that, could be over with. It's still structured for a higher push, but I have my stop set, so if it rolls over, we will lose $0. We will have made 182. Not bad. Not what our daily goal is, but not bad. It's better than losing money. You are welcome, the Agile Leader, my friend. 2377 is the pair name. Okay, I will look for it. I'm not I don't know if I can pull that up, but I will absolutely look. 2377. And did you tell me? Yeah, on TWSC, so that's right here. Okay, I do not know what it is. The asset. It is trending in a bearish trend. Like, it's been bearish pretty much all year. And it was bearish last year. So you're in a 2-year bearish trend. Two-year bearish trend. So for whatever reason, it's been having a rough go at it. So when you broke down in the month of March, you set the April lows. This month is when Bitcoin, risk markets, S&P, most of your tech assets set the year lows. Well, this asset did not. You made fresh lows, fresh yearly lows last month. And this month, you're seeing downside continuation. So at this point, me, myself, and I would not be interested in trading this until it got under this. And that's just going to be 2022 swing low. I would want to see how it reacts once it takes that out. So what I mean is if you take out $98.30, if you can get back above $98.30 and hold as support, I could be a buyer then. Looking for it to at least trade back up to October's open, up to 116.50. But it might be next month, right? It might not be this month. It might be next month or the month after, when you actually get something like that. You do have monthly support. This is your lowest monthly close for a long time. So you're trading into this right now. You could see this area hold as support. My problem with buying month support would be the liquidation for many years is down here. You got earnings coming up next month on November the 7th. So early next month. So early next month is when I would anticipate this liquidation happening. If it's going to liquidate this swing low, I would anticipate it happens on November the 7th. Then look at it and see what it does from that point on. I wouldn't be interested in this until after earnings. If you get a bullish earnings and you get a giant spike up, then that's okay. Wait to see when it pulls back into September's open, then look to be a buyer there. Because if they're going to flip the trend is bearish. If they're going to flip that, and this is going to start going back up, then it's going to need to find a support zone somewhere. You just don't have that yet. Hopefully that helps. That's how I would approach this. I would not be buying it here just randomly, knowing that earnings is early next month. Sorry, I didn't mean to snap that bottle in your ears. I actually dropped it and caught it. Like a cat, I have great reflexes. But yeah, hopefully that helps you, my friend. I think it's still got some work to do before you know, got to find out why this thing is getting beat up so bad this year. It's a pretty dramatic yearly candle. I mean, you're back under prices that you haven't seen since 2021. You know what I mean? So all the up move that you got from 2021 and all the way into 2023 end, all of that has been given back. So something is up here. Something is wrong. Investors are fleeing. They are fleeing. Find out why. Then you can also make a decision, at least on a macro, like take a macro look at it and be like, why? Why is it getting killed? Let's go just look at the analyst, because sometimes just looking at an analyst rating, I don't know if we're going to get an analyst rating. Okay, yeah, here, let's just look at the analyst rating. Let's see what analysts are saying about this. So there's only six analysts, not many, right? You have 0 saying it's a strong buy. You have 1 saying it's a buy. You have 5, so there's your 6, saying it's a hold. So at least you don't have anybody saying it's a sell or a strong sell. Well, of course not, because it's at fresh multi-year lows. Most analysts aren't going to be selling into fresh multi-year lows. They're going to wait for a bounce. They don't get like freaked out or scared, right? So it's a hold on an analyst rating. Yeah, this is a huge range. Just a massive range. So it could be getting close to where people want to start putting risk back on. Just not this week, because you're making fresh lows this week. It's just Tuesday, though. That's my honest opinion. That's how I would approach it. I'd wait for the lows to be put in. At least put in some lows, quit trending lower, and then I would make a decision. Hopefully that helps. Bitcoin wiggling here. So we're in a fight. The bears are fighting for the win. The bulls are saying, not on my watch. Who's going to win? Right now, the sellers are struggling as the VIX is making fresh hourly lows and pushing on those lows. So you do now have a trend change on the day, as this was an accumulation zone early on for the VIX. They were buying hourly demand. Now you've broken below that. And most likely you've stopped out those demand buyers. Oh, yeah, this would be the low I'd be more focused on. Sorry. Hourly lows, not so much. 4-hour lows can tell you a great deal. Right here, nice big fat bearish engulfing. You just took out the lows, so you do have a bearish engulfing here. Like I said, the weekly 21 is a formidable zone. Buyers will buy. If we turn off all the moving averages here and just leave on that 21 and then kill all of the lines, right? Go look at the weekly. You can see like all year since April, right? Since the April lows of the year were put in. Every chance that Bitcoin, every time Bitcoin came close even to the 21, the bulls were there. The bulls were there. And they're trying to be there again. So it's a big level. So if it does break, you could see an outsized push lower. But if it doesn't break, look out above. Okay, I got stopped out of the KGEN. That candle got me. So I'm glad I took profits. I'm glad I chased it lower because it literally never did go back up. Once we pushed above the high, that's when I dropped my take profit. I dropped it and this thing just started pushing lower, 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 lower. So if I would, I'm glad I got filled on that. So successful. Good stuff. Now we just have to see who's going to win the battle here. Is it going to be the bulls or the bears? So the VIX is bouncing after making that fresh 4-hour swing low. This is the important level to watch for VIX futures. If you start trending under this low for the day, that would be a very good sign for Bitcoin and ES futures. You start trending today. You start pushing lower and lower and lower. That would be great news for Bitcoin bulls and for ES bulls. We can go look at the SPY. On an intraday time frame. So you opened the day up weak, had a nice push lower, took out pre-market lows, and then rejected. Now you're looking for gap fillage in the village. Gap fillage would be 662. Actually, to be honest with you, you have filled the gap already. You just need to trade back up into the prior day's low to fill the gap. So the gap is filled. There's the prior day's low. So you did get gap fillage in the village at 10:15 a.m. Or 10:30-ish, we'll call it. Yeah. And so far the bears have not won the battle of rolling it back over. But I promise they are trying. They are still trying. Let me see. What would it cost to sell premium? Premium is elevated. The bad thing about selling put premium right down here is that if it rolls over, you're going to get ran over. Yeah, it's very much. The premium is crazy. And that's because the VIX is elevated. I'm not going to sell premium. Oh, it's too crazy. Let me go look at UPS because I was wanting to keep an eye on that. as it did liquidate, I wanted to see if it's going to bounce from here, and it is. Okay. So what's the low on that? 82 exactly. 82 exactly. So I don't know if that's a liquidation or not. Damn it, why couldn't you be 81.99? This is where I'm going to get out of my long position on ups. Obviously, Amazon is putting the boots to UPS's throat. But yeah, this is a long-term consolidation level here. As long as we're trading above $82, I can hold longs on UPS. 1 cent under and I'm exiting. Because if it gets under that, man, it could free fall. We already had earnings on UPS. Oh, no, we didn't. Sorry, I thought we did. Next month. No, end of this month. Yeah. So this is my mitigation point. Beyond this, I'm exiting. I'm getting out. I'm not holding it any longer. Sellers winning the battle here on Bunk. Oh, Bill says he doesn't expect a bear market. No, I don't expect a bear market either. The odds of a new bear market happening this year are so low. But you say a year open retest. That's interesting. A year open retest on Bitcoin is 93K. That's a long drop. Yeah, I mean, could it get there? Absolutely. I don't think it would, but we'll see. I mean, you liquidated September lows. The next lows to liquidate would be June's. So, as long as you're trading above September lows, I would probably keep a bullish bias here. If you take out September's lows and continue to trend, then my target would be June's lows. But not the year open, not yet. You got to take out June before you can even think about getting there. How many more? There's only 3 more months, right? Not even this month, and then 2 more months on this year. You would need almost a collapse. You would be in bear market territory on Bitcoin if you hit that. If you identify Bitcoin as a bear market via the same rule set that people use to call the ES and NQ a bear market, which is 20%. I like to look at Bitcoin being down 30% as being pretty much in a bear market, because those are the lows we made back in April. Right? You were down 30%, and that's when we hit bear market territory on the ES. 31% on the April lows. And that's when we were in bear market territory on risk. It didn't last long down there. Didn't last long down there. I'll tell you one thing. People are still going to like ES shorts all the way back up to there. And, or, 66.82. So if you reject 66.82 on the SPX this week, I would be hesitant going into next week. I would actually, if we trade up to here and reject this week, I would actually take a short there next week. So yeah, if this trades back up and does something like this, then next week I would be interested in a short right here. Next week I'd be looking for the short, because if it pushes up, liquidates that week's high, and then rejects and puts in a downside move like this, yeah, I would definitely like to be short there. Let's bring it back, shall we? It's the exact same trade, almost. It didn't make it to the 618. I made it to the midpoint. But that trade did pay out big. But notice what it did to the weekly 21. You see that? So when I put this short on, back then in 2020, it paid out huge. Boom. So we didn't get a liquidation of the week high, just a rejection there. I was a lot more aggressive back then, but so arguably speaking, I could eat that loss, right? I could 100% afford to eat a loss by putting on a put here or here. No problemo. But do you see the difference? We are not closing under that. That's the difference. That was also a much bigger move in terms of percent change. Much bigger move in terms of percent change. Yeah. So just to the open. So this is where we are now. So just to the open of that big downside push was a 3.9% move. So it was after we broke down and pushed before I put the short on. So right now, you just don't have anything like that. Like that was a 3% drop. So I actually take that back. I don't think I could put on the risk, knowing that this is a nothing burger in terms of pullbacks go. This is nothing. Like it's a tiny blip, itty bitty. We'll see what it does. You could be right. I'm not saying that you're wrong. No way. It's struggling. We're testing the weekly 21 right now. Ugh, do we even chance the long? VIX is up off that 4-hour low. If it was, damn it, if it was trending under that 4-hour low, I would absolutely buy here. We got, I don't love that, man. That isn't really anything. Yeah, it's only a weekly open. And it's a random weekly open at that. But it is an objective price point. Okay. If we were trading down under that 4-hour swing low on the VIX, I would buy here. I guess we could try it anyway, right? We're up on the day. We're barely up on the day, just a couple $100, but we're still up. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's getting ready to close the hourly. You've got less than 40 minutes. You're going to have a new hour. Let me see if I can line that up on weeks. Excuse me. Coffee hiccup. Oh, I might have missed it. 111.075. I'm gonna do it 111.075. I got a little bit of money to play with here. I'm gonna send it. All right, so I sent it. Let's see if we get the fill. I would much rather it be pushing under the lows here. Come on down. Same for you, Bitty boy. Come back on down. Give us the fill. It's a dangerous long. Just make sure your risk is mitigated. The lyrical asparagus, are we topped? Jesus, this is brutal. No, it's, I don't know what do you mean. What do you, some of them got beat up bad, like Pingu and all of those guys. Yeah, they got destroyed. Bitcoin's down, like it's down multiple thousands of dollars. But as far as like percent change, Bitcoin's down about 11.5%, which, yeah, sucks, but not over. That's a pretty sizable down move. The momentum is definitely on the backs of the bears. Like the very near term momentum here is definitely bearish. Asia sold it, and they sold it hard. And then London sold it, and they sold it hard. But New York came in and said, I want to buy that low lick. That low liquidation they bought. Now, they haven't been able to do anything since then. New York Bulls. And that's concerning. But I wouldn't go as far as say as the bull market is over. I wouldn't go that far. You've got a 3% correction on the S&P. 3. Things start to get a little bit more crazy when you're under 10 on the S&P. Under 10 right now with where the VIX is would put the VIX up crazy. So it's probably not going to get there anytime soon. I would say the VIX pulls back a little bit. Like maybe bounces off the year open or something. That's what VIX bulls would want or need to see. Right? VIX bulls would want to see 1721 hold. There's a gap, unfilled gap on the VIX down here. There was, guys, an unfilled gap here on the VIX. So you filled that VIX gap to the upside. Now the gap is here because this gap is filled. You filled that Friday. So this gap from here to here got filled there. This gap got filled here. There's a gap up there, but a 60 VIX, the world is falling apart. We would need a lot more damaging news for that. But you do have an unfilled gap there as well. I don't know even if I would call that an unfilled gap. And I'll tell you why. You did gap down. No doubt about it, right? From the close to this candle's open, that is a gap. So in terms of a technical definition of what a gap really is, you do have this gap. But notice how this candle traded up almost literally into that low. It didn't make it, so I guess you could say there is an unfilled gap here. That would be destructive. That would be a nightmare scenario for risk markets. Oh, people think the bull market's over now. You get a 40 VIX and people are going to be ripping their hair out. So this could be the start of something, no doubt. But I would arguably say, as long as you're closing dailies under that price, 22.16, you're okay to be a buyer. But make sure you're setting very tight risk parameters. Make sure you have stops in place to catch huge downside drops. But I wouldn't say like the bull market is over. Not yet. I would just say we've seen a liquidation event, just a leveraged long liquidation event. Lots of over leveraged longs got destroyed. This liquidation event is the most in history. Like before this, it was what, like $3 billion on a 1-day liquidation event. Friday, you got close to like $10 billion. So it was a historic liquidation event. We need to see what happens after this. Like, do we get a series of continuation moves lower, and how violent and volatile are those moves, or do the bulls pick it up here? So even though Bitcoin looks rough today, and it ain't over, today ain't over, you are down 3% on Bitcoin today. You're down 6% on Ethereum. These are pretty big numbers here. You're down 11% on Fartcoin. But this is all well within normal volatilities. It's once you get into like the 15s on Ethereum and the 10s on Bitcoin, that's when you're seeing something else take place, like above the norm volatility, well above it. To, like, as far as just daily ranges go, yeah, you're under, you're a whole percent under what Bitcoin normally does in a day. But I'm talking about like when it has big volatile moves lower. This is half of what Bitcoin could do today. That's why you still have people looking for shorts here on Bitcoin, because they're looking at this percent change and they're thinking to themselves, if Bitcoin has a severe down move today and closes down like 6%, there's 3% to get on a short side move from here. So the trade ain't done by any stretch of the imagination. So you could see Bitcoin close down here today at around 108. But the sellers need to win this battle. The sellers need to win this battle. And it's moving further and further away from our entry here. That volume is building up. Building up down here. You got buyers buying hard. So yeah, you could definitely see a lot lower move today based on this. That's if it breaks down. Let's get rid of the previous week's low, because now that we have this weekly open here right under that day, weekly 21 EMA, and today's POC, point of control. Oof, we don't really have any other POCs here, just today. This is a bearish look, no doubt. That's a clean, fair, this is your fair value here. From blue line to blue line, that's a fair value. According to volume. Yesterday's fair value migrated higher. Just the value area high migrated higher. and then price rejected hard. So this is clean to the downside from yesterday, not the previous day, just yesterday's volume. Clean move lower. So your buyers, your sellers aren't even out of the woods at 113,200. The sellers could still be in control of this all the way up to there, because that's where value area high is. It's a little bit lower on the smaller time frame, which makes sense because you've been consolidating this for some time here. I don't think we're going to get this fill either. I think we've been late twice on this. We are starting to trend lower on the VIX. There it goes. Yeah, that's a good look here for the bulls. It doesn't mean it will continue, but if you make a lower low, it's going to take a lot more to reverse that trend. And remember, the VIX usually in a bull market oscillates back to lows, not highs. It's not a trending asset. It usually has spikes, big, huge bouts of volatility, then it drops. But it's struggling. It's not trending yet. It's trying to. It's got to start putting in lower lows. As long as it's refusing to do that, the Bitcoin bears are not done. They are not out of this. Yeah. We'll see what it does today. I have on a short, but we did make money on one long, and we're out of that. So I'm going to watch this weekly open. If we're trading under that, then I'm just going to assume they're going to smoke the lows. So I won't want to get involved in longs. And I won't want to get involved in longs if the VIX fails to make lower lows beyond this point today, because we're coming up on the noon hour, which means half the trading day pretty much gone. And the bulls have not been able to do anything with it. So the second half of the session is going to be very important. So I'm not going to fight against the bearish momentum to try to get a long fill. In a sense, I just want to see it bounce from here like it did before. If it does that, then I can potentially take a fill, and this would be to mitigate that downside trade, the only trade that I have on, the short on bonk. I want to mitigate that, if I can, by putting the long on Bitcoin. And then we'll see what happens. I think if the VIX could start trending lower for the second half of this session, these things are probably going to spike up. And if obviously my short that I have on bonk's going to get stopped out, because I'm short way down in here. Yeah, my short entry is literally right there. So it's like a bad short entry. So, yeah, I will close that more than likely if we start closing successive 5-minute candle closures above 1560, like multiple. Then I'll get out of the short and take some money. And I'll be close to my $300 daily target. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it as the day goes on. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm hungry. Looks like, okay, yeah, I read that. I still believe that the downside of the top three is not over and we are about to see lower price. Most people are bearish right now. Yeah, I agree. Most people, even though there is physically the macro has not changed, most people are bearish because most people still remember Friday. Like they think that the trend is over, it's going lower, right? But the macro has not changed at all. If Trump comes out and says we have got to deal with China, tariffs or 100% tariffs are off the table, these things are going to go up, and they're going to go up pretty hard. And I would love to have risk on for that, because on a technical basis, as long as we are trading above this point, we are still bullish on this asset. Trending still is to the upside. It's just trying to suss out direction. You're in price discovery right down here right now. So, yep, if you lose this area, you could see further downside for sure. But if you don't lose this area, you know what I mean? I'd be concerned if I was holding short only positions. So try to mitigate your risk, even if you have a short side bias, right? You can take shorts on these. There's no problem. I have no issue with that. I'm holding a short right now, but I am currently looking to offset that bearish risk only, because I know just how fast this thing can go up. So, yeah, that I know I can't predict what price will do, so there's no point in only setting in a short. That's all I'm trying to say. You might as well also throw on a bit of long risk too. That way, let the bears and bulls fight it out, and then let the other position get stopped out, and then maybe you catch a multi-day trend in the right direction. Oh, shit. I just knocked over my coffee. When you do that, then you catch the trend. And then I'll end it with this. There goes your VIX. So be careful with short side only setups. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart. And as always,